Okay, for obvious reasons, this is a throwaway account. So, I'm not even sure how to start here. The last couple of weeks, my dog, a 7-year-old Labrador, has been acting noticeably different. I guess I could describe it as distant and even depressed. He is normally an extremely outgoing and happy dog, very playful and energetic, etc. But starting about 2 weeks ago, he started acting very withdrawn and nervous around people, even his own family. At first, I kind of brushed it off as feeling under the weather, but after about a week and a half, I decided maybe he needed to see a vet. I got him in yesterday, and after an examination, the vet told me that he believes the dog has been, for a lack of a better term, violated. His back door had slight damage in a way that was consistent with that sort of thing. He said he can't really imagine that his injuries could have come about any other way. So already now I'm pretty upset and sort of freaking out. Who would do this sort of thing to a dog? I thought about all of the people that had access to the dog and my backyard. Gardeners crossed my mind, my neighbors, etc. The only people that live in the house are my wife, myself, and our teenaged son. I came home and thought about it for a while. I had this really ugly sinking feeling in my stomach about the possibility that it could have been my son. I decided to look around his room. I didn't really know what I was expecting to find, and I didn't really find anything in there that screamed guilty until I decided to check his browser history. I found he had been on a furry forum recently and a site with pictures of that sort of thing. I felt like I was going to throw up. Now I know that this isn't definitive proof of anything, but it sure doesn't look good. The more I think about it, the more I am convinced my son has violated our dog. I haven't told my wife yet or done anything about it. I have not left him alone with the dog since. I am totally confused and upset and don't really know how to proceed with this. Reddit, please. I need help. Update. Thank you for all your advice, at least to those of you who are serious. I understand this seems like a joke to some of you, but it's not to me, so for those of you that gave real advice, thank you. I think I'm going to take your advice and confront him about it privately, without involving my wife. It is not going to be an easy conversation, but it has to happen. My only worry is the possibility that he isn't guilty of this and somebody else did it. I guess then we still need to talk about what I found on his computer anyways. F my life. Thank you for being there for me, Reddit. Update. Okay. My son just got home. I'm going to have the conversation with him when I can get a moment alone, and I will come back and let you guys know what happened. Update. Okay. Just spoke to my son. Before I get into our talk, let me quickly say thank you all again for your incredible advice and support. There were a lot of really helpful suggestions in here, and I took some of your advice. Anyways, our family had dinner and did our usual nighttime stuff. My wife and I watched TV. Son was in his room after dinner like all teenagers are, and dog, obviously, was with me. I waited for my wife to go to bed, which felt like forever because I was so nervous, but she finally did about an hour ago, and I went into my son's room to have the talk. I basically said, listen, I noticed the dog has been acting weird. I took him to the vet. I found out someone has hurt him. Any ideas what might have happened? I looked at my son, and he seemed ever so slightly nervous but pretended to know nothing about it. I expected this, so I brought up the sites I found on his computer. Naturally, this made him pretty upset, and he got really indignant at the thought that I snooped around on his computer. Fair enough, I get it. But I got him back to the point and tried to be as understanding and fatherly as I could, and just told him that whatever happened, I am not going to judge him, and he's not going to be punished. I just need to know the truth. After about 10 to 15 minutes of this, he finally breaks down and admits that he put the handle of a hairbrush as well as fingers into the dog a few times during a day last week. He said he wasn't trying to hurt him, and he stopped when the dog at one point freaked out. He said he didn't think he hurt it that bad, and he was too embarrassed to tell us or do anything about it. I believed him in this, but he also didn't give a very satisfactory answer as to why exactly he would do this in the first place. I have to admit, either way, I was glad on some level to hear that he wasn't actually having sex with the dog. So basically, we agreed that I wouldn't tell his mom, but that we would find a reason to tell her that he needs to see a therapist for a bit. I know I told him I wouldn't tell his mother, but the more I think about all of this, the more I think I may eventually have to go back on that promise. As for now, the dog is staying with the family, and obviously I made him swear up and down that he will not touch the dog like that again under threat of severe consequences. It's too early to tell if he feels remorse or is just humiliated. It's hard to say. It was very uncomfortable for both of us, but especially my son. I'm sure we can all imagine. Thank you all again so incredibly much for your support, advice, understanding, and love for both the dog and my son. I have to admit, some of you even made me laugh at a few things I didn't want to. Thanks again, Reddit. Update: today I located a therapist that specializes in teenagers. I made a preliminary appointment for my son to go in and talk to her. I disclosed to her some of the issues without getting into too much detail. For now, my son does not know this, but it will be helpful for her to have some idea of what we're dealing with. My dog is still not in the best of spirits, but seems to be making progress. I went for a walk with him today and he was more playful than he has been the past week. I've been trying to be extra good to him as well, and the love seems to be helping slowly bring the happiness back into his eyes. I can't say I'm still not a little peeved about what happened, but I feel like to show my son that I am too upset might be damaging right now. I think we just need to find out why he thought this was okay. As for the brush handle, some of you bring up a good point. I should ask him to throw whichever brush that is away. For some reason, that didn't even cross my mind. Yikes. Anyways, I'll give you all an update on the situation in a week. Thanks again.